welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service.
Today, we're going to talk about suffering and the way out of suffering. And I'm going to tell a story. Is it okay with you guys if I tell a story? I didn't plan on what to do if you said no. So we talked about the Buddha last week. We talk about the Buddha a lot. And I'm going to just take a small part of his life and tell you the story around it and the context. So before he became the Buddha, the last thing he tried to practice before he went and sat under a tree, Siddhartha was practicing what we call asceticism. And that is, he made this group of friends, these 5 guys, and they were doing these practices together. And so they had the idea in their heads, somehow, that if you don't take care of your body, your mind is going to flourish. If you don't take care of your body, your mind is going to flourish, something like that. So they were trying things like not eating for a long time, or standing up for hours and hours, or exposing yourself to the elements, like all these things that sound terrible. They were trying this to try to find some spiritual awakening. And Siddhartha, he realized that was not going to be for him. So he left these guys behind and he went and he sat under a tree and resolved to sit until he attained some spiritual truth. And so he did. After many days of sitting, we are told he attained spiritual awakening. And he discovered some things about the world and our place in it. And at first, he thought that he could not possibly teach anyone what he had learned. He thought, you have to see it for yourself. You can't. People are not going to learn this by me talking about it. But then we are very grateful he changed his mind and he decided he was going to try to teach the world what he had learned. So first, he was near starvation, and a very kind woman gave him some rice milk, and he was able to come back to health. And I didn't want to set that aside because the history of Buddhism, important women have left their marks on the history of Buddhism, and we cannot forget them. So she was the first person he saw after his awakening, after he became the Buddha. So we're immensely grateful that someone did give him what he needed to take care of himself, because he was near starvation. And then, following that, he goes and he starts walking. And he sees, who does he see but these 5 guys, okay? And he sees them from far away. And as they see him approaching, they think they want to give him the cold shoulder because he ditched them. And they think that he walked away from these practices because he was weak. That's what they think. So they're like, this loser, he's coming towards us, right? But as he gets closer, they see him more clearly, and they see he has a beatific countenance. Do you know what that means? It means like he seems calm and happy seemingly for no reason. He seems like he is chill in a way that they're not. He seems like he's at peace. So as he gets close to them, their hearts have softened and they don't want to call him a loser. And so they ask him what he's discovered. They ask him what he has discovered. And this is a key moment in the development of Buddhism. These guys are the first Buddhists. He gives them the first Buddhist teaching, and we call it setting in motion the wheel of the Dhamma. And he teaches them the middle way and the Four Noble Truths. And this is like the scaffold upon which all of Buddhism is built. So I went and I found this text called Setting in Motion the Wheel of the Dhamma. And it is a translation of the teaching he gave to them. And I would like to read it to you. And you can get this on accesstoinsight.org, along with many other teachings. But I would like to read from this to you instead of using my casual language as I've been using. So here it is. You're going to hear the word bhikkhu, and that just means monk, okay? So here it is. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi in the deer park at Isipatana. There, the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus of the group of 5 thus. Bhikkhus, these 2 extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. That just means becoming a monk. Going forth into homelessness means becoming a monk. What 2? The pursuit of sensual happiness in sensual pleasures, which is low, vulgar, the way of worldlings, ignoble, unbeneficial, and also the pursuit of self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble, unbeneficial. Without veering towards either of these extremes, the Tathagata has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. Nibbana means enlightenment or awakening. And then he goes on to say, so that was the middle way, right? The best way to live your life is not to give in to temptation all the time, but it's also to not stop taking care of yourself. It's the middle way. It's somewhere in between eating all the ice cream and eating none of the ice cream. So he goes on to say, now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Union with what is displeasing is suffering. Separation from what is pleasing is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving which leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. It is this noble Eightfold Path. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So there's more to it, but I'm not going to read you the whole thing. That's the beginning of the Buddhist path. And, suffering, the word we're translating as suffering is dukkha. And there's been sort of a movement within scholarship to try to move on from using that word, because suffering it makes a lot of people think of like getting a finger cut off or something, right? Something like really horrifying and bad. But there is, of course, that is dukkha, but like little things are dukkha too. When I feel like my finances are going well and then my check engine light comes on my car, that's dukkha, right? That is. It's little compared to getting a finger cut off, but that's dukkha too. I've heard it described as like having an ox cart with one of the wheels messed up. An ox cart with one of the wheels messed up. And I don't connect with the word ox cart very well. I think of Oregon Trail because I'm Gen X, but I like to use the metaphor of a shopping cart instead. That is, you go to the store and you get a shopping cart and you're pushing it along shopping and like the wheel sticks a little bit, right? And then you're going and like maybe a little bit longer, it's okay, but then it sticks a little bit again. It's just irritating, but it's not bad enough I'm putting back the cart. And I think life is like that. So sometimes our shopping cart has a messed up wheel. Sometimes it has 2 or 3 messed up wheels, right? And when things are going real bad, it feels like you can't move it at all, right? So I like the metaphor of the shopping cart a lot. So the first noble truth, suffering exists. The Rolling Stones were right. You can't always get what you want, right? So the Buddha, he didn't start his teaching with sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes people think that Buddhism is negative because of this. And we're just looking at the world with honesty. So he started with something that we all already know. We are human. And what it means to be human is that we grow old and we get sick and we lose the things we love and life doesn't meet our expectations and we don't get what we want. Good things don't always last. And there's some power in recognizing that though, because we can stop holding on to things so tightly, right? Hold on loosely, but don't let go. That's a song. And I saw a meme that was like, is a rope and it's like a hand holding the rope. And I think we can all kind of connect with that because, if you hold onto a rope really tightly and it gets pulled out of your hand, it's going to hurt your hand. You're going to get rope burn. But if you hold kind of loosely and it's pulled out, nothing will happen, right? So we cling in life. And that brings us to the second noble truth. The cause of suffering is a craving. Sometimes people say attachment, or craving. Grasping, attachment, the way we wish things were different. One time I picked up my daughter from her mother's house, and she said, and she had been building up in her mind that I was going to say yes. She said, "Dad, can we go roller skating right now?" And I said no. And she was a child then. She's an adult now. Wow. But she was a child then. And she got very upset and she cried because she had this idea in her head that I was going to say yes and we were going to go roller skating, even though she knows, I don't like spur of the moment plans, but we had other plans, so we didn't do it. And she was very upset. And we're all that way sometimes. When we're expecting or wanting a very specific thing and life doesn't give that to us, we get upset. We want to hold on tightly to the things that are pleasant, and we want to get the heck away from the things that are not pleasant, right? That's what we want. And so we try to build castles of comfort and control. I'm pretty proud of that. Castles of comfort and control in a world that keeps changing. But the truth is, we can't control anything. We think we can, but not really, right? The richest man in the world got divorced, right? That's how I know money doesn't buy happiness. We can't control everything. And we chase things because we forget that things are fleeting, but everything is fleeting. And that's why that's not a way to happiness. And that's what the Buddha realized, because prior to walking away from his life and becoming an ascetic in the wilderness, he had everything because he was in a powerful and wealthy family. He had everything and it didn't make him happy. So the third noble truth, though, this is where things get kind of positive, I think, is that there's a way out of suffering. That is what the Buddha tells us, that liberation is possible. And that's what, when those 5 guys saw him by the side of the road, that's what they saw in him. They saw, that's a person that's not suffering. They could tell. That's the meaning behind the whole Buddhist project. When we stop clinging and we stop grasping and we stop holding on to things so tightly and pretending things are going to last forever, that's where we find peace. There's liberation in letting go. There's a stillness beneath the noise of our attachment and confusion. And there's a freedom that comes when we stop chasing and we stop running all the time. And it's not just for monks alone in caves, but it's for all of us. It's available. So the fourth noble truth is the path. The Buddha gave us a roadmap to awakening. And the Eightfold Path was one of the earliest teachings, but there are actually 84,000 teachings. And it's not a philosophy, but it's a way of living. So in the Eightfold Path, which I'm not going to talk about much because somebody's talking about it next week, but in the Eightfold Path, we have that roadmap to awakening. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right mindfulness, right concentration. If we get these 8 things in order, if we work on these 8 things, then we're embodying the Buddha's teachings. And it's how we get free, not just for ourselves, but for the sake of all beings. So we need to remember sometimes, I think, we need to sit on our cushions. We need to practice like this, but we also need to show up in our communities. We also need to tell the truth and practice kindness in our day-to-day life. And we also need to stand up against injustice and the negativity in our own hearts. We're not doing Buddhism to escape, and we're not going to temple to escape either. We're doing these to become more fully alive and more fully human, and to learn how to meet each moment with compassion and wisdom. We are doing this to become the kind of person that can meet the suffering of the world with fierce love, because that's what the world needs. So that's it for today, and I hope this talk's been helpful, and I love you all.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Bran Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.